week's Facebook Live. So we're going to talk about the effects of being underparented. So this is as adults, if you're underparented as a child, that's what we're going to talk about today. So the effects that might have had on you. So the first question we got to ask is, what is underparenting? Basically, it's, inadequately being parented as a child. So any type of, you know, inadequate types of parenting that you might have received means you were underparented. It's quite complex and it's subjective. The experience itself is subjective. So we have to take it a little bit step forward, and we have got to think, like, if you've been affected emotionally, physically, mentally, or spiritually, and you've been left scarred by the issues that occurred during your childhood because of underparenting, then you were underparented. If you're wondering, yeah, is this me? Yes, you probably were underparented. Because there can be many reasons why we're underparented, and some of them can be easier to understand than others. It could have been through the death of your parents, and you ended up with other people. A divorce can also leave children being underparented, particularly if one parent physically leaves and is no longer available to the child. Estrangement from the parent for any reason can leave you feeling underparented. Abandonment, again, for whatever reason the parent has, again, you can feel underparented. Mental health issues with the parent. So if one of your parents had mental health issues, it can mean that you were underparented as a child. Parents' addictions, again tying into the mental health issue there. The type of parenting style, now I'm not going to go into the different types of parenting style, but go have a look at them. It doesn't just mean that, if your parents were neglectful, it could mean that they were very authoritarian. So have a look at those parenting styles. Have a look at the video. There is a link to it in the blog, and I'm going to place that in a link in the description below, as always. Have a look at the parenting styles. Do you recognise any of those, the way your parents acted? It really doesn't matter, how or why it happened. It happened to you, and that's the main thing. You feel that your parents didn't do a good enough job. And as I said, you've been left with physical, emotional, spiritual, or mental scarring as a result. And no one person's experience is lesser than another person's. It's subjective. You could have children all raised by the same parents, and one child in the family can feel underparented for a variety of reasons, and another child in the family said, no, I had a great time, it was grand. I don't know what you're talking about. It can be like that, and they may have blocked it out. So it is complex, it is subjective, but as long as you recognize and you say, yes, this is me, this has affected me now as an adult. The fact that you didn't receive nurturing or protection or guidance that you needed as a child, it will have impacted you as an adult, and that's what's important. It's how you feel about this. So how does it impact us then? Self-esteem problems, aggressive behaviours. We can be quite angry, hostile, and we can't. Maybe sometimes we don't realise why we're hostile and angry all the time. We can avoid blame. We don't want to take on the blame because maybe that was a key style in your parents. You were always blamed. You were the scapegoat. You'll avoid taking responsibility as well. You have a higher risk of developing mental health problems, including addiction yourself. You might have struggled academically and in your career as an adult now. You might have a problem expressing yourself, either your emotions and or your opinions on things. Trust, intimacy, and your boundaries tend to have problems. Anxiety, high levels of fear, high levels of stress. Classic ones would be codependency, perfectionism, procrastination. You can also have a lot of shame and guilt that you're carrying, and you could possibly have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So these are all things that you've got to be aware of, and you're carrying these issues now as an adult. And we need, the first thing for self-help is to recognize, yes, I was underparented. You can decide, okay, this is how it happened. This was my family of origins issues. This is how they behaved. So you're raising your own awareness here, and you're recognizing and acknowledging that you were underparented, and it has impacted you as an adult. And you may have, as I said, there's a lot of issues there we can have as adults when we're underparented. So the first thing we need to do is actually reach out for support, because a lot of those issues can have huge impact, and we can carry them forward and keep carrying them forward until we actually reconcile them. So we do need, in this case, we do need the help of a trained therapist. Any issues that you might have will need specialist help. So I have to emphasize this. You'll probably need counselling for grief, learn to reparent yourself, and any other issues like the trust issues, boundary issues, intimacy issues, your stress, your anger, your shame, your fear, your guilt, your anxiety. They're all going to need the assistance of a trained therapist here. You might also need substance abuse or eating disorders is common as well. You might need treatment programs for those. So please, the first thing is, yeah, this was me. You recognize it, you're aware. And the first thing I'd say to you is please reach out for help, because none of what I've just listed is insurmountable. If you get help, with the help of a good therapist, you will be able to get on with your life, and you won't have this hanging over you for the rest of your life. So reaching out is the first step in helping yourself. It's the first step in taking responsibility for yourself as an adult and treating yourself with the love and respect that you need, that you didn't get as a child, and to treat yourself in a healthy manner. And that's what's important. There are things you can do, of course, self-help wise, but they should be done in conjunction with your therapist. And if your therapist says something else to you, then please take their their guidance on board, because they're going to know you a lot better than I do, because I don't know you right now. I'm doing a general, this is just general information. You can go and see your doctor. I think that's important too, because an awful lot of times we will neglect not just our mental health here, but we'll neglect our physical health as well. So you need to start looking after yourself. We tend to ignore our own physical health if we've been underparented. So it can be an important first point of call to talk to your doctor. These people can also be part of your positive support system, and that's going to be vital too in your recovery, that you're surrounding yourself now with people that are supportive to you, and your main doctor or GP is part of that system, as is your therapist. So you need to remember that. The other thing is, we can start, again, in conjunction with our therapist, we can start to set healthy boundaries with ourselves and with other people. So a healthy boundary with yourself is making that call to the therapist. A healthy boundary with yourself is reaching out to the GP and taking care, your main doctor, and taking care of your own physical health and your mental health. But it can also be, there will probably be conflict in your life from family members that may be still hanging around you, unless you've made you've had a complete split from them. So you are going to have negative people, and there will be your own negative thinking. And I've talked about all these things: boundaries, negative thinking, and dealing with negative people before. And there's videos on all of those if you want to go check them out. Again, it can be easier to do these as a self-help if you have that trained therapist with you, working with you. And as I said, start by surrounding yourself with those positive people. Even if you feel you're very isolated and you have nobody else there, you do have your doctor, you do have the therapist to support you. And slowly but surely you will build up people, and you'll start to recognise that there actually are people already in your life that are there for you, that are positive people, and that you can minimise and start to delete those negative people. A key point here would be to have some compassion for yourself. You're doing the best you can right now with the tools that you learned. And we have to be able to, have that compassion and say, okay, it's okay where I am. This is where I'm at. I'm reaching out for help. I'm talking to the GP. I'm starting to set healthy boundaries with myself. I'm starting maybe as well, if you can, set healthy boundaries with other people and say no to things. Um, but you're doing the best you can, and we have to have compassion with ourselves for doing that. We are capable of making these changes. With help, we can make these changes and we can learn new ways of coping and dealing with the world around us. We just didn't get those tools when we were children if we were underparented. And when we learn those, we can actually start to build our self confidence and start to learn to trust ourselves, because it's from trusting ourselves we'll learn to trust others. And the one thing I just put in there about trust is, treatment programs are a brilliant way. 12-step programs, if you've got substance abuse issues, and treatment programs, 12-step groups are great ways in which you can learn to make some of the best friends you can in your whole life. And there are people that will be there for you no matter what. And they'll help you learn to trust yourself again and trust others. So if you feel, oh, I don't have anybody, a 12-step program, if you have an issue, or if you are codependent and you find yourself with people with an addiction in your life, even in the past, a 12-step program is also there for you. Friends and families do have 12-step programs for them, and they are really good programs to work with. So, I've talked about building self-confidence before, and trust as well, and how you can do it. But make sure too that you're, you can check out those videos, but make sure too you're treating yourself in a healthy way. As I said, go to the GP, start getting your health looked after, start getting your mental health looked after through your main doctor and your therapist. But also you need to take responsibility for some self-care. Time management can be a huge issue for us. As well. So, something there you can do, and following through on commitments can be an issue sometimes, not always, for people with, who have been underparented. Or maybe you're following through on too many commitments. And again, time management is about, who am I going to spend my time with and on, and what jobs am I going to do, what my tasks I'm going to do. And a lot of times, if you are a perfectionist, a procrastinator, codependent, you'll probably be taking on too much, or you'll be, you won't be good at time management, and you won't be following through on your commitments if you're a procrastinator. So, have a think about those as well, looking at those areas as well in your life. Everything I've kind of listed there are a lot of videos that you can have a look at, and a lot of blogs that I've done on those topics. If you go over to my website, you'll find a link below, as I said, with the links that you can click on. But they take time. All of this takes time. And being underparented can leave many of us with issues that we have to face now as adults. But with support you can do this. But you also have to remember, you need to give yourself time. You need to give yourself patience, compassion, love, forgiveness here, self-love, self-forgiveness. These are going to be vital and really, really important to you right now. You may not have had them from the people who were supposed to give them to you as a child. So now it's time to give them to yourself, because that's an important message that you're giving to yourself now. I am important enough to give myself time. I am important enough to give myself some patience and compassion and some love and forgiveness. Because these weren't given to you as a child. It's vital that you now start to give them to yourself, because this is going to aid your recovery. So please, please reach out for help if you recognize any of the symptoms I mentioned. It's always important that we reach out for our mental health as much as we do for our physical health. So I will leave it there. As always, I'm happy to answer questions if people have them. And I will talk to you all again next Friday. And have a good weekend. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon.